Hi guys, I'm Rex King. Welcome back to another episode of From the Archive. Independent film is weird. I know it's a weird way to start the video, but it really is. I mean, unlike conventional Hollywood, where a lot of the filmmaking gets done by committee, you get a bunch of test audiences so you know what works and what doesn't work, independent film doesn't have a lot of that. So it's up to the filmmaker to really find their own way in making their movies. And this leads to some really great film and some really weird film. After all, I mean, you really aren't bound by conventional storytelling, so this could be some new ideas, some interesting takes on some older stories, and some very outside the box thinking. But as weird as the live action independent film industry is, with my limited exposure to independent animation, I can say that it's a different beast altogether. I've only been exposed to a few different movies in the independent animation category, and let me just say this. I'm convinced that they looked at the rulebook for animation and storytelling and decided to just throw it out and just make up things as they go. This is my roundabout way of saying that my entire high school singing in the sea is a weird experience. My entire high school singing in the sea was directed by Dash Shaw. It was released initially at the Toronto Film Festival in 2016 before getting a theatrical release on April 14th, 2017. The film was very successful critically. It made about 69 grand at the box office. I can't tell you how successful that is in response to its budget because, well, I couldn't find its budget anywhere. That being said, is this movie as weird as I'm making it out to be? Well, let's start with the story. The plot of my entire high school Sinking into the Sea centers around Dash, a sophomore at Tai Tai High School, a high school built on a ledge. Dash is voiced by Jason Schwartzman. He has only one real friend, Asof, played by Reggie Watts, and Asof is starting to drift away from Dash as he's starting to develop feelings for the newspaper editor that these two characters work with, named Birdie, played by Maya Rudolph. This causes Dash to feel like he's losing his one and only friend. So he decides to write a smear piece in their newspaper article. This causes the principal of Tai Tai to write a disciplinary action in Dash's permanent record. So Dash tries to go to the records to get his permanent record back so he can, well, presumably destroy it. However, there, he finds a conspiracy that involves the school's construction, and that is one quake from falling off the ledge and sinking into the ocean. Dash tries to warn everybody, but like I said, nobody likes him, so nobody believes him. Right up until the exact quake Dash was warning everyone about happens and the entire high school breaks off the ledge and starts sinking into the ocean. Now Dash, Asof, Birdie, Mary, a popular girl in the school, played by Lena Dunham, and a badass lunch lady named Lorraine, played by Susan Sarandon, must make their way to the top of the school to hopefully survive. This film's story is weirdly all over the place, but it works. What I mean by that is, tonally, this film has two different tones. Sometimes it can be horrific, and the imagery and story make it abundantly clear that people are dying horrific deaths, and these kids are surrounded by body parts and blood. However, some of these deaths are played for laughs, so it's hard to tell if the film is going for a dark comedy or is trying to be taken seriously. Normally this wouldn't work, but honestly the different tones match with the different visual styles, which I will comment on later, and manage to give the film an interesting feel to it. I also really like how it's basically a commentary on high school culture. Not just the high school hierarchy, which we've seen in movies like this done to death, but also what schools will do to get attention, even if that's not beneficial to the school overall. After all, this all happened because the principal wanted to build an auditorium, even though he knew it would lead to disaster. And I really enjoy the feel of this film and what it's trying to say. The characters are yet another example of this film spitting at conventional storytelling, because our main character, the one that we're supposed to be siding with, is a jerk. He's self-centered. He believes he's very strong when he's not. He also believes he's the smartest person in the room, and he definitely isn't. This would normally be a problem, as none of the other really support characters are all that well developed or interesting. But it is worth noting that what is interesting is the relationships here, as the characters try to fix their relationships or fix their anxieties about their relationships. For example, Birdie has anxiety about having friendships with other girls, as when she had a friendship with another girl for a little bit, it ended up ending badly for her, and she ended up feeling exiled and just really felt like she had to guard her emotions more. Therefore, she doesn't trust Mary. But as what they go through grows, they manage to become friends by the end of the film. Furthermore, even though a lot of the other characters aren't that interesting, as soon as we meet Lunch Lady Lorraine, this film takes a whole new spin into awesomeness, because this character is absolutely spectacular. She's mysterious, she's motherly to the kids, she tries to protect them, she's a physical badass, she is everything that I want in a film like this. And I gotta say, as soon as we started to get into that character, it made the film feel a lot better, and the pacing just went up from there. Then we have the performances, and all the performers do a decent job. I have a huge problem with casting adults as kids. I do believe you should be trying to cast people as their appropriate age as far as movies like this. It's noticeable in some of the voices, others not so much. It's really off-putting when I hear an adult voice a supposed teenager. Then we have the visuals, and here's another example of independent film doing weird things and it working, as the film doesn't really have a singular animation style. I'll start with a negative, which is kind of unusual for this, but I'll explain why I'm doing that. The character designs are really not interesting. All the characters feel like stick figures and are wooden. They don't really have a ton of movement, which would be off-putting, but because of the way the color palette works and with the way the backgrounds move, it actually works to the film's advantage, as the film can take multiple different approaches and change its animation style on a dime. And the filmmakers do this a lot. One instance, for example, is when Lunch Lady Lorraine is taking on these three bullies in the bathroom. The film takes almost a Streets of Rage approach to it, and it's very reminiscent of that style of video game. And then when they get to the elevator shaft, the background goes like bright yellow as the entire foreground goes black, so we see their shadowy outlines in their eyes, but we don't really get to see them, their facial expressions. But it works. It gives the entire scene a much more darker undertone, and it makes certain other elements pop, and it does work really well for the film's advantage. And several changes like this are scattered throughout the entirety of the film, as certain moments will have other certain changes to the visual style. The music score done by, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, Ronnie Sharom, is spectacular. The film has a psychedelic feel to it, and the synthesized music that he uses for this movie elevates that feel to a whole new level, which complements the film's overall visual style and feel. I really enjoyed his score, and I wanted to track it down and listen to it on its own, but I don't think it has a release, as I could not find any tracks anywhere. That being said, I started out by hyping up this film as weird, and though it's not the weirdest film I've ever seen, It is extremely weird how a film like this broke a lot of rules as far as filmmaking is concerned and is still overall a good film. But is this film a buy, stream, which you can do on Hippopola, I think it's pronounced, and or a avoid altogether? I don't think it's an avoid altogether. So let's talk about the special features. And the special features here are audio commentary by the director, Dash Shaw, a couple short films by him, a featurette about the art of certain scenes in the film, and a theatrical trailer. I think these special features make this film worth a buy. I think the movie is good and is just that right niche of weird but simple enough to understand that I really enjoy. The film's only 75 minutes, so it's definitely worth a watch. If you're not a big fan of independent film, especially independent animation, you might want to just stream this one, but I do encourage people to watch this. I think it's a good film despite some flaws, and I really do enjoy it. So, that's what I thought about My Entire High School Sinking into the Sea. What did you think about it if you've seen it? Let me know in the comments below. And next time, I'm going back to the Best Picture well for The Apartment. See you then!